You know what it is, Hot 87, your boy HipHop Mike in the building. Listen, I've had a lot of guests up here, but this guy holds a place in my heart that's near and dear. One of the first people that I got to edit his interview with Chosenberg, young Peter Rosenberg.
Chosenberg, shout out to that man.
Yo, craziness to have you here, man. Chicago's own Vic Mensa is in the building.
My brother, man, thank you for having me.
My man, welcome. You've been doing a lot over the past couple of years since we first met.
Word up.
We could bring them back to Down on My Luck and then to where you're at now, the evolution in the music, in the person that you are. So many things along the way that's been happening. Now you have this video out, which a lot of people are talking about, a project on the way. But I want to ask you, what do you want to talk about first? What are you most excited about?
Man, you know, really it's this 93 Punks project that I have right now. You know, it comes out next Friday. And I grew up listening to rock music, skateboarding, playing guitar. That was, you know, my whole MO before I ever really found hip hop. So this album is me kind of going back to that, going back to those roots in particular. I look at it almost in a way like my NERD. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a rock project. It's a band. The name of the group is 93 Punks, and the name of the album is 93 Punks.
Fire. What gave you this vibe that you wanted to go back to the rock roots?
Man, it was just kind of like I started creating, and that's kind of what came out. You know, I was kind of changing the process and writing things down on paper, starting with words and bringing the music into it, as opposed to rapping to beats, you know, like I would usually do. And it just kind of transformed into something of its own. And my manager, Cody, was really like, this is different from your rap music. You should make it its own entity. And No ID was telling me the same thing. He was like, you should put this under its own name, you know, because it really is, it's its own world.
See, for me, I feel like a lot of people, it's hard to understand if they're a new fan, if they don't really know the roots of Vic Mensa and like where you're coming from. I was watching a couple weeks ago on Complex a video of Pat the Manager doing the Blueprint, right? And talking about connecting with you guys really early in Chicago and just what that vibe was like. And I feel like to see the music now coming full circle to like real punk kids in Chicago, it's like a completely different vibe than people were expecting. Did you expect for people to just be able to keep up with it, or were you nervous at all that maybe they wouldn't understand?
You know, really in creation, I never think about those things. You know what I mean? Like, as it comes to just expressing myself in music, like, I've always just done what came to me the right way, you know? So you spoke about Down on My Luck. When I did something like that, I wasn't really thinking how people would respond to it so much as what I was inspired by in Chicago house music and what makes sense to me, you know what I mean? And what creatively just transpires. That's really how I've always driven myself.
Now, I feel like you've always relentlessly been yourself. Like, I mean, I could go a couple years back to Lollapalooza in Chicago. You really had like a lot of politics that were driven into music. You had a set where I don't know how many cops it was, came out on stage and was really like ripping you apart while you was performing. And I know that a lot of the music now, especially with this video, you spoke about mental health, you spoke about evolving as a person. You know, watching the music evolve is truly incredible. When it comes to the mental health stuff, how do you feel like that plays into what this video is and like expresses, you know, what's kind of going on in your head?
I mean, you know, mental health is important, man. I'm always preaching that, you know what I mean? Whether it's just like being honest in music, and being vulnerable about the things that I've dealt with and deal with, or in interviews and, you know, in community action. I'm always focused on that. I don't think that really played as much of a part in this music video. This music video was more so like a comment on the ridiculousness of America and of society, you know what I mean? And just one ridiculous action after the next. So it was inspired by a movie called Tu Wong Fu, with like Wesley Snipes and John Leguizamo and shit. And there was a character in that movie that wore a Confederate flag dress. And I saw that and I was like, that's gotta be the most punk shit that someone could do, you know, to take a symbol of hate like the Confederate flag and turn it into a dress. You know what I mean? Like that's disruptive. You know what I mean? And the whole 93 Punks shit is really about disruption and about challenging the way that you feel like a person should be able to act. you know, and I've been doing acting too as well, so that kind of factors into my music videos, you know, and then it's kind of woven in with those messages. Oh, here's bro right here. Hold on, this is my homie calling from Dixon Correctional.
All right,
Illinois.
let's put him on.
Prepaid collect call from
James Warren.
an inmate at Dixon Correctional Center. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press.
Be aware, any attempt to add a third party to any call from Illinois DOC will result in inmate disciplinary action, and the involved end user's phone number will be globally blocked from future calls from all Illinois DOC facilities.
They be on that bullshit.
Sorry, this ain't third party. I mean,
Start the
technically.
conversation.
Hello?
What up, man?
What's up, bro?
Shit, what's the word?
Man, I'm feeling, man. How you feeling?
I'm cool, and you on air right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yo, welcome to Hot 97, bruh.
Damn, what's up, man? What's all on?
Shit, man. We just chopping it up right now. But shit, I want you to spit that piece you had, yo.
Yeah, the political one?
Yeah, spit that one.
Alright, hold on. Fuck, how the fuck is going on? Damn, hold on.
Well, what about that one? What if I told you I was the same
Go
James?
ahead, go. I got you. Ready?
Yeah.
Alright, I say. It really blow me when they say I got my head on straight. Like I ain't know what I was doing or something. Like I did what I was doing for nothing. They love it when I say I'm reconstructing. Well, let me shift the discussion. What if I told you I'm the same James? Relaunching the same campaign, Bernie just did the same thing. Now, would you vote for me, or would you trump me out? Because I fought when society tried to stump me out. What if I make it back and finish what I started? Too many leaders done paved the way that left my soul departed. Too many leaders ain't with us. Too many leaders just talking. Too many leaders is in the way and really eat a coffin. What if I told you I'm a spiller? I leave them leaking, I'm saying I really... Never mind, I might be tweaking. The people ain't ready. You revolution, but ain't trying. Society got them and needed courage like the lion. What if I told you that I'm heartless? I mean, to an extent I care, but it's small regardless. Respectability, politics that deny existence, miseducated, you predicated to crucifixion. I guess they know not what they do still. I guess they know not how the truth feel, fighting behind them true bills. I guess they comfortable living behind them white lies so they don't see my eyes well up as I let the truth spill. It really blow me when they say I got my head on straight. Like I ain't know what I was doing or something. Like I did what I was doing for nothing. When patriarchy is really the villain, they ain't love me till I started drilling. See, they want me detrimental way to think gang, but it's evident I ain't the same Jane. And if I let you fool me twice, it'd be a damn shame. Relaunching the same campaign, different code, same train.
Gang.
Out here.
Come
Yo,
on, man.
went off, man.
Hot 97. James early.
What's up, man?
Shit, man, I'm coolin', man. Shit, motherfucking. Hey, Cody, what time are we going in with Sway tomorrow? 9 a.m. That's our time. That's at 10 a.m. Hey, man. Hey, can you call me at like 9 a.m. your time tomorrow?
9 a.m. my time?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up?
Try. He's on Illinois time. Yeah, run that. Hello?
What's going on tomorrow at 9?
We're going on the radio again.
Right. I bet. Damn, man. What's all on though?
Yeah, shit, we about to get into this interview. I'm gonna holler at you tomorrow.
Alright, love, bro.
All right, my nigga one.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's dope, man. You know what I mean? That really, like, I be talking to bro a lot, and that's one of the main things keep me grounded, honestly. You know what I mean? When you speak about mental health, man, I was telling him yesterday that I had been dealing with some depression, you know what I mean? And I usually don't even say nothing like that to him because I'm like, first world problems, you know what I'm saying? But I was just, keeping it real with him yesterday, and I was like, yeah, kind of been having these lurking thoughts, just kind of creeping into my psyche as they sometimes do for people that struggle with depression and anxiety and shit like that. And, just saying, thoughts of suicide come to me, and feeling like I have no value or no worth or whatever. And he was like, you tweaking, right? And I'm like, yes, I definitely know I'm tweaking. That's the whole point of the shit. And talking to him, it's like, it really keeps me grounded, because it's like oftentimes we can become lost in our own experience, and forget how many blessings we have.
Facts.
Focused on what we don't have.
I'll say this though, it's a challenge if you're notorious for having this negative mentality for whatever reason, because I'm dealing with the same thing, right? You would think, oh, you on radio, you doing hot, and he said, this is crazy. But I still feel super stressed and depressed and almost more lonely than I did before I had all the people around me. And to start just triggering that positive thought of like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't look at this situation this way, but rather that way. So my question for you though, because as an artist, there is something that comes with being in a negative space that tweaks the art. Like for radio, it's good to like, you always want to kind of be positive.
Yeah, to get on your happy shit.
But if you get too happy as an artist, I don't know if the new record you have out right now would be as deep as it is, like from that positive mentality. Is that a challenge in itself to balance? Because mental health is twice as hard for creatives, I think.
That's actually real shit though, because it's like you start to believe that that you need the pain, and kind of revel in the pain and live in the pain because you create from that space. But I've come to a lot of realizations in my own life, just that I think I've created self-images of myself that might have been distorted, you know what I'm saying? And created ideas of myself that were dictated by that darkness, when in reality, like I'm a man of light, you know what I'm saying? And situations and circumstances maybe sometimes can paint me in a different way, publicly or personally. And it's just a process of like things like that, staying grounded in those ways, like talking to bro and humbling myself. And thinking about how ultimately blessed I am just to be alive, because I know so many that have done far less that didn't make it.
Nah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
It's just so wild, man. It's a tough balance to find, especially in this industry. And outside of that, I mean, you're fortunate you got Cody, because a lot of people, they don't have that support. They sign to labels or deals, and it's just... I ain't
gonna lie, man. I started praying a lot this year, like a lot of meditation and prayer. And like I'm not a Christian or a Muslim or anything like that, but I've been praying a lot. And that's something I always do before I ask for anything in my prayers. I thank God for... first of all, I consider my grandmother my God, but I thank her, for life, for having a roof over my head, for having people like Cody and my family and, the director of my foundation. Like I thank my higher power for these names every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's the best way to spark it. At least for me personally, like, it's thinking of things like that instead of thinking like, what don't I have, as opposed to like...
You know what I mean? Like, I tell myself all the time, the point of time in which I'm grateful for what I do have is when I open myself up to receive what's coming to me. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this. You have "Where Is My Mind" tatted on your head, right? Meditation for me is like the hardest part of all this, because the TED Talks, I absorb a lot of like positive stuff, you know what I mean? Like I would read a lot, I study a lot, but the meditation, to almost remove yourself from your head and just be in a place where you're like almost thoughtless and just kind of relax, was that tough for you at first?
It's just a practice like anything else, you know what I mean? Like I've been running a lot recently. Like I was doing a lot of weights last year. I was like, you know what I mean? All jacked up and shit. And now I've been running, so I've been running this hill by my crib, just running up and down. And as I do it more, it's easier. You know what I'm saying? It gets easier and easier. And I'm less like, when I was first doing it, I'd be like, yo, I want to die right now. Like, I need to stop. I made it up twice. But now through practice, you know what I mean? Now it's like I'm able to really train my mind to tune in. It's the same thing with meditation. You just have to train your mind to be able to sit with those thoughts and let them come and go.
Is this the first time that you've had that approach of just not necessarily making it a switch from like, I'm gonna just go from eating like this to just eating healthy, going to the gym? where you were like, you know, let me just start running, let me start doing these things? Or is it a switch for you where you're just like...
I'm Gemini, man, so I'm always one where, you know, I'm like
Got
extreme. So that's why you see me one time and I'm like, ah. And then you see me next time, I'm like, ah, you know.
Nah, I mean, I gotta say though, as a fan, man, I love it because I think a lot of people, in being slightly more enlightened through the studying, through understanding this, I think a lot of people need to put themselves through those challenges and don't necessarily have that self, like, reflection to really know how to approach it. And like, that's what's really made me a fan of you over the years, is just watching the evolution in the person, in the music, because ultimately I think you got to judge people by their intention. And even in your craziest moments, the intention was always to get a positive point across, to really make an impact and create conversation.
You know, that's one thing that I really learned in recent times, and still learning, is that it's not always what you say but how you say it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I had a lot of controversies and, you know, conflicts with people in the past, whatever. And if you look at them, the vast majority of it stemmed from me trying to say some real shit.
Yeah.
Trying to say some real honest shit that actually needed to be said. Where things went astray was sometimes my delivery, you know what I mean? And feeling like, I don't give a fuck how you feel about this because I'm telling the truth. You know, but Hov told me something ill, man. He was like, yeah, I feel you, but would you rather be right or in the loving? And that kind of sat with me, you know, because I realized that taking these hard stances and the way that I delivered my message oftentimes had my message be distorted and clouded by the controversy.
Yeah.
So nobody really knows what it was about when I got into it with so-and-so. They just know I got into it with so-and-so.
That's it.
Then they know I got into it with this other person, but they don't know what that was about either. They don't know that I came into these situations with a quite a righteous message in many cases. You know what I mean? They just see this beef, that beef. They say, oh, that's beef guy. You know what I mean?
Well,
pause.
A lot of times, pause. A lot of times I think too, they don't want to even address, because the stuff that you talk about, like ultimately the message is something that it's a lot to wrap your head around sometimes. It's not as straightforward as people are used to. And I don't think people like to really get into their minds as much anymore. But the fact that you do it also with the music, you see, that's what really makes it special for me, is that, you know, you can talk the talk and do all that and not give a fuck what anybody thinks about it. But the music is so good and the message is there that even if you're trying to ignore it, somewhere it resonates. And, you know, I interview tons of artists. I post every time that I have an artist like, yo, you have any questions for so-and-so? The amount of questions that I got for you today, as far as the video is concerned, was like insane. And I wanted to just speak on it because I don't even think people fully got the concept. And I'm glad that you spoke on it before, of just like, that's really what's happening out here. This is America, is like really that wild.
Yeah, so if I was to break that down, you know, it's kind of like, obviously it's shocking. I said where the Confederate flag dress came from, and really taking that symbol of hate and making it something that ridiculous and laughable, and it is extreme. You know what I mean? That was really one of the main purposes of it, was how extreme it was. And, you know, kind of like, this is different from my rap shit. This is
It's a whole
punks. You know, this is like, it's hella provocative, and it's brash. And I also think that in itself is a commentary, because think about a woman dressed as a man. Would that be such an outrage? Think about Eminem, you know what I mean, dressing as a woman in his videos in the 2000s. Would that be such an outrage? But because I'm a black man, it's, you know, it's the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? And I think with everything going on in the world, it's also bizarre that would be something that's, you know, so motherfucking shocking, to the point where, like, niggas want to fight me. You know what I mean? Like, niggas I know, niggas I've known forever. You know what I mean? Like, I want to fight you for that. And I'm like, that's something you got to think about. You know what I'm saying? Because what does that really say about where our mentality's at as a society, that these are the things that we care about so much, as opposed to the real shit happening in the world? And that's why what I put in the video is juxtapose that with the real shit happening in the world. Like playing tug of war with Mike Pence over birth control.
Word.
And fucking barbecue Becky's calling the police on me for going to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, I was speaking about these different things, but specifically in a hip hop community, that's gonna be all the way left and super shocking for people because there's such a fragile masculinity
Facts.
in the hip hop community. Like, niggas don't exert themselves at all times trying to be the hardest because they're secure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
but it's a tough balance too, because I feel like you get a lot of criticism just because people aren't, like, the clout culture and all that, people aren't tapped into your stuff necessarily because there's a lot of hype behind it, but not more so because the music is just hitting. Like, I mean, I know since day one you've built a fan base on stuff that hasn't necessarily been in pocket with clout culture, but at the same time your association to Rock Nation, to these bigger artists, they're looking at you as like, all right, well, you our age, you look like us, dress like us, why are you not just like us? And I think part of it is, like you said, you just got to be open to seeing that this is who I am, this is what I do.
You know, I always have kind of been left of wherever people are at. You know what I mean? Like, never really made the same music as niggas, and I like it that way.
Nah, I mean, I agree. I feel the same way, man. I wish more people was really appreciated. Instead of being mad at Vic Mensa, be mad at the message, at the barbecue Becky, at the Pences, you know what I mean?
You know, I think tides change, and it's just like, as I said, you know, I recognize that having a string of all these different beefs and tussles with people, you know, has kind of painted me in a certain light at times. And I ain't gonna lie, like, that shit do get frustrating because I know who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know me, like, I'm a cool nigga.
Yeah, you
know
cool
what I
as
mean?
hell.
Like, I try to be kind to people across the board. That's something I unilaterally try to do. You know what I'm saying? Somebody comes up to me on the street, wants to play their music, wants to rap, wants to whatever, take a picture. I'm never the guy to be like, no, you know what I mean? Because I appreciate people in a genuine way. And I'm just passionate about the shit I say.
Facts.
And that's why I bump heads with people. But that's also me at this point, having self-reflection and learning that I can stand for the things I say and the things I believe, while presenting them in a different way. You know what I mean?
Nah, and I respect it, because it's not a troll. It's really, I could tell you live it. I
done had people try to tell me I'm troll.
I'm
like, so I'm clout chaser because I'm saying some honest shit to a clout chaser?
Then they haven't been to the shows,
Like,
because
what the fuck are we talking about? But you know, that's the world we live in. And I feel like when you look at society as a whole, you can't take hip hop to be some giant in the hills like Mos Def said.
Facts.
Think about the fact that we have a fucking reality TV personality as a
Crazy.
president, and whenever someone calls him or one of his cronies racist, what he does is he turns around, points back at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and says, no, you're racist.
Yeah.
That's society, that's culture right now. That's the same shit in hip hop.
Nah, it's
You
wild.
call somebody out for something that's real, they'd be like, no, you.
Yeah. Same with sports, because you know I gotta mention the sports. They dropped yesterday. Hov is doing this thing with the NFL. I don't expect you to tell me Hov's plans, but have you gotten hit about any of this, and are you gonna be part of what's gonna happen now with bridging the gap between the community and the NFL?
You know, I actually don't know the information. I don't know too much information on it. I personally have been like boycotting the NFL in my own life, although I never really watched football to begin with.
Nah,
so
same here.
it doesn't take much for me to boycott the NFL because I don't really watch the shit anyway. But the whole Kaepernick thing, you know what I mean? Because of that, and just the fact that, like, we know what that is, you know, these white team owners and their black players that they basically trade around as modern day highly paid slaves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the same type of framework. And Jay-Z has spoken on that shit many times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I would imagine that, just knowing him, I would imagine his angle coming in there is definitely to stir things up for the better. And I would be very surprised if he didn't go in there and really campaign to get Kaepernick a job.
Nah,
Because I know the type of man he is. I know the type of person he is. And he's not somebody that, you know, puts like business over morals or anything like that. And I'm sure his intentions are true.
Yeah, nah, and it's definitely like to create conversation. I mean, people have been talking about it for the full 24 hours that the news been out. So I think that's really where it starts, is just create the conversation and open up, you know, that dialogue, like for real. I have to say this, not to name drop nothing. I randomly ended up cutting Colin Kaepernick's hair, right, through my homie Nessa. Shout out to Nessa. I can't
Shout
talk.
out to Nessa, man.
I can't talk about stuff that Cat be talking about.
Cut his hair. I never seen him with some cut hair.
Nah, listen, just the
He
beard,
really
just the beard. But I'll say this, you know, I think his intention too. I cut it right before he got this Time Magazine Man of the Year, right?
Dope.
And I'm talking to him like, yo, you excited? Like, you know, you gonna be Man of the Year. This is crazy. And all he had to say was like, you know how many influential people are gonna be there to be able to help us with this cause and like to really put on for the Know Your Rights. And I just think it's like, how could you be mad at a dude like that, man? With so much going on today, it's like you gotta open up the door for the man to have a job. And like the fact that Hove is now actually creating the conversation, I think is dope. But I would like to see if you was getting involved in it to any capacity. I know it's new. I'm sure you're gonna get calls.
Yeah. I don't really know about it at this point in time. But word up, I definitely support Kaepernick, and I really respect everything that he stood for. You know, and I honestly see a lot of parallels between myself and Kaepernick.
Thanks.
You know what I mean? The fact that Kaepernick he's sacrificed for things he believes in, and honestly for the truth. You know what I mean? And held fast, stuck to his guns in a lot of ways. I got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, he continues to do so. So the project coming out next Friday.
Yes, sir.
How many records is this? What can we expect from it? I know people haven't heard much.
Yeah, it's like 13 records or something like that. They're all real short songs though, because it's 93 Punks, you know what I mean? So that's the name of the group and the album. And also a clothing line that I do called 93 Punks. It's like kind of similar to this shit, honestly. This is Faith Connection, but it's like highly customized denim and leather. And yeah, man, it's like I said, it's kind of in the vein of my NERD, you know what I mean? It's really a rock album. It's more so a rock album with hip-hop influences than the other way around.
Okay.
We've been doing like dope-ass performances of it, house shows at my crib and shit out in LA, just like raucous energy. And really to me, what it means, you know, I'm born in 93, but to me, what punk is radical individuality. So that's like just really being yourself. You know what I'm saying? And really being free to express yourself and standing for things that are important. You know what I mean? Like equality, justice, accountability, love. You know what I mean? The shit that really moves the needle. That's what punk is about. It's not about you screaming and aggro like that. That's a part.
Yeah.
But really, what it's about is being individual.
Being yourself. As far as the videos are concerned, are there more to come, or is this the video that we gonna get before I know you go perform all these records and
We're
go
gonna
crazy?
do a bunch of live videos that are gonna come out with the project, and then we got a single coming out on Friday called "It's a Bad Dream" featuring Good Charlotte. So we'll be doing a video for that ASAP too.
How you done got Travis Barker, Good Charlotte? Like, this is gonna be some shit, bro.
Really just jumped into that world, you know, because I grew up on that shit. So I've always kind of intended to take some time and fuck with that music.
Do you plan to get back to rap at all?
100%.
All right.
Working on my next album.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be more rap driven.
Yeah, so it's a rap album.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, I think from day one, from Down on My Luck to where we're at now, man, everything's been hitting, everything's been incredible. I know that there's been moments that are shaky in a personal side, but as far as the music goes, I'm super excited for next Friday, man.
Yes, sir. Love. I appreciate you, bro. Always.
Appreciate you coming through.
Yes, sir.
Yo, Vic Mensa in the building. It's been a blessing. Hot 97.